And while they have been mum on this situation, we cannot say the same for the president of COLA, Giovanni Brackett. Citizens Organized for Liberty Through Action fired off a release today who demands a timely response to the matter with relevant information.
This is yet another incident on the record. I believe that this goes to show the heightened tension at the border, whether it's between the Guatemalan armed forces and our armed forces or Guatemalan encroachers into our territory. But it goes to show that there is a high level of tension, so much so that there's more violence and blood has spilled once again on the border. We would hope that from this the government would take the relevant response. There needs to be an accurate response coming from our administration that will signal to the international community that we are being manhandled, or we are actually being aggressed by Guatemalans, whether civilians or armed forces. We believe, and as we stated in our previous release, that once the government continue to take the steps that they are taking to ignore these incidents, it will only open room for further aggression and further violence. Is it a case like if you ignore a particular situation, if you ignore the heat in the kitchen, you will eventually get burned. It doesn't matter if you're telling yourself that there is no incident. There is incident, and so we at COLA is calling on the government to internationalize this. It appears that we have CARICOM, who is not belligerent, but they are our brothers, and they are making even more stronger statement than our foreign minister and the prime minister.
In the release, Brackett states that, quote, Saturday's incident involving Belize Defense Force Staff Sergeant Richard Lampy provides another impetus for aggressive internationalization of our dispute with Guatemala, end of quote.
Well, they're not only ignoring the situation, but they're ignoring reports. Remember that you all in the media have been leaked information that shows reports that have gone way back to 2003. So you're seeing that there has been a strategic ignoring of the reports coming from the officers themselves. In fact, when Danny Conakry was murdered, we've seen the documentation that there were previous warnings about that particular situation and it led to a murder. Now we have another incident. I know that definitely that the government, the very thing that they are blaming the BTV and other members who participate in those border excursions, they themselves by their actions or inactions will cause a massacre at the border, because people are going to be confused about what the real situation is. And maybe the next time it will be a bunch of tourists who are taking a tour down at the Sarstone, may get raped, murdered, just like we've seen before. Guatemalans have been committing heinous crimes in our country illegally, and they have been showing aggression in all sorts and fashion. And we believe that you cannot continue to ignore it. To do so would be foolishly.
In its release, COLA calls on its partners such as the unions, civil society, private sectors, and Maya leaders to, quote, denounce these acts of aggression by Guatemala, end of quote.